Welcome once again to Musings by Danon. When I was in college learning about literary theory, we spent a lot of time learning about different rhetorical methodologies and ideologies. Feminist literary theory, deconstructionism, Jungian archetypal theory, structuralism, and postmodernism were all drilled into us. My two favorites were always Jungian archetypes and deconstructionism. Before we get started, please like and subscribe for more content. In Jung's Structure of the Psyche, he postulates that there is a collective unconscious in humanity, and that the model for archetypes has existed for as long as there have been humans. I'm oversimplifying here, but in layman's terms, Carl Jung believed that people were born with innate qualities that determined the type of person they would become. That from the collective unconscious of mankind, we would recognize and be drawn to those people. And through our own internal archetypes, we could become the type of person we want to be, whether the decision was made consciously or unconsciously. This is why, through the study of history, we see people with similar personality traits. In writing, that means you can have the same characters in a myriad of settings. In modern day, we call these tropes. To me, tropes in writing, especially fantasy, are fascinating. You can have the same trope, even near identical characters, but how they are used, how they interact, and how they react to different stimuli is always different. It keeps it fresh and interesting. The tough-as-nails father figure who always seems to have a drink in hand but never raises that hand to the children who look up to him. Now, was I talking about Marvel's Wolverine? Or Jane Greimark from David Gemmel's Regante series? Or Mr. Scheibel from Queen's Gambit? Each of these characters are very similar in nature, following a lot of the same tropes, but the stories they are in are vastly different. In the 90s, fantasy RPGs from Japan often had the same four characters, and manga followed suit. You had the hero, often a young, innocent, optimistic fighter type with a bit of support magic. The warrior, stoic, reliable, someone with heavy armor and an even heavier weapon. The priest, often the mother or father of the group, they were the healer, the one who patched everyone back together. And the mage, the black sheep, someone with powerful magic but a weak body that would need to be protected. These four roles, hero, warrior, priest, and mage, would be used time and again for over 30 years. Which brings me to the subject of today's video. Soso no Frieren, or Frieren Beyond Journey's End, is a manga written by Kanehito Yamada and illustrated by Tsukasa Abe. The first chapter was released in April 28, 2020 in Weekly Shonen Sunday. It is the story of four adventurers defeating the Demon Lord. The hero Himmel, a young boy with a good heart and a bright smile that spreads to those around him. The warrior Eisen, a stout dwarf with a giant axe capable of cleaving enemies in twain. The priest Heiter, a pervert who preferred wine and women to prayer and study, but was still capable of healing even the most dire of wounds. And the mage Frieren, a 400-year-old nigh-immortal high elf who only looked like a small child, despite being the most powerful mage on the planet. Our story begins with the heroes returning home after a 10-year-long journey to defeat the Demon King. Their mission successful, they disband the party after a night spent in celebration. It seems the heavens themselves were celebrating, as the meteor shower that only appears every 50 years also happened that night. Frieren tells them she'll take them to a spot where they can better watch the meteor shower the next time it shows up, not realizing how odd of a statement that is to humans. She travels the land, learning new magics and helping people, but what is time to an elf? 50 years later, Frieren returns to the capital to find Himmel a wizened old man, bald with a long beard. Eisen and Heiter return as well. Heiter is now a bishop instead of just a priest, but Eisen seems unchanged, at least at first. They all travel for a couple of days together and see the meteor shower again. Shortly after, Himmel passes away. At the state funeral, buried with all honors in a glass casket filled with roses, Frieren wonders why she is crying. After all, she only journeyed with Himmel for 10 years. Frieren continues her journey to find new and interesting magic. Magic that can catch a bird, magic that can create a carpet of flowers, magic that can open any jar. Even if the magic isn't powerful, Frieren wants to learn it. Each arc in the rest of the story starts by letting us know how much time has passed since the funeral of the hero Himmel. Chapter 2 tells us it has been 20 years. Heiter is now retired, but has taken in a young orphan girl with a high potential for magic. He convinces Frieren to take her as an apprentice because he knows he doesn't have much time left. She then visits Eisen, the old dwarf finally worn down by time. He too has taken a young apprentice. The three, ancient elf though the most immature, her young apprentice, and a youthful warrior, decide to repeat the 10-year journey to the demon realm that Frieren accompanied Himmel on all those years ago. The writing is sweet, almost subtle. The characters slowly develop a relationship, learning to trust each other as they overcome trials together. As Frieren repeats her journey from over 80 years ago, bringing two young humans along with her, she has flashbacks of her original journey. New insights are gained as Frieren sees what is happening with now more mature eyes. 80 years may not seem like that much time to an elf, but she notices that she has grown. At least a little. As Frieren travels with her new companions, she finally comes to realize why she was crying at Himmel's funeral. She regrets not getting to know her companions better, and now that opportunity has passed her by. Frieren quietly decides to not repeat her mistake, and gets to know her new apprentice and the young warrior. Her curiosity still gets her stuck inside of a mimic every once in a while. It's hard to explain the appeal of this manga. On the surface, it can be a little boring, and the artwork is deceptive. There are no dynamic angles or amazing fight scenes, at least at first. It's all slow character development with a lot of action happening off stage. But you soon grow to love these characters, flawed as they are. And now that you love them, you fear for them when they encounter something truly dangerous. At its core, though, Frieren at the Funeral is a story about archetypes. We see the similarities in both Journey and the characters through the eyes of an elf who has lived through both. She notices similarities and the subtle differences too, and we, as the audience, are given a beautifully drawn and written story of archetypes and a lesson in that old saying, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Thanks for tuning in. I absolutely adore this series and can't wait for it to be released. The first volume of Frieren Beyond Journey's End will be released in English on November 9th. Make sure to order your copy from your favorite bookstore. Once again, a huge shout out to my editor Cute Stuff. I couldn't make these videos without her. If you'd like to hire her to edit your own videos, there's a link to her Fiverr page below. Please like and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you all again next time.